Hi, right now I'm right outside one of the Luckin, operator store. Just to let you know that the last time we shot this video, it was about 18,000 stores. And as of end June 2025, at least based on the annual report, there were 26,000 stores. Luckin Coffee revenue rises in Q2 report. Now, if you zoom inside this article, it says that 2,109 new Luckin store openings in a quarter. And there were 2,085 were opening in China and Hong Kong. And the most interesting thing is that there were 2 new stores in the US competing directly with Starbucks. Now, in total, Luckin says that there are right now 26,206 stores operating around the world, and about 16,000 plus which are self-operated stores. And in this article called the Guardian.com, it says the rapid rise of Luckin Coffee, is this the end of Starbucks supremacy? Now, Starbucks is doomed, but that's a little premature. Luckin reported 4.7 billion in sales last year, compared with 36.2 billion net revenue for Starbucks. In other words, in terms of revenue, Starbucks is still much larger than Luckin Coffee. So now the question is Luckin Coffee a good investment today since it's still at a growing stage, right? So let's look at the company's financial statement, and one of them is called the profit and loss statement. Let's do a quick recap. When a company makes some form of money through sales of their products, services, and so on, is known as revenue. Minus away all the expenses, you end up with 2 numbers. Positive number, the company is profitable. Negative number, the company is running as a loss. So let's look at the company's revenue over here. It seems like it looks pretty nice, huh? Now, we demand that the revenue of a company has to be uptrend, and in this case, uptrend. But remember, revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. So let's look at the company's profit over here. Now, this red line represents 0. Anything below, the company is losing money. And you may notice that only the last 4 years, the company is profitable. But the most important thing to note is this article that you can see over here. Luckin Coffee receives delisting notice from Nasdaq for failure to file its annual report. Now, for companies that are non-US but is listed in US, the annual report is known as 20F. That means Luckin Coffee failed to file this 20F. And it serves as an additional basis for delisting the company's securities from the Nasdaq. So in other words, they will be delisted from the main board, and then you go down somewhere right at the bottom, right, and we call it the over-the-counter, or rather pink sheets, with the ticker symbol of LKNCY. So now the question is, what is a pink sheet?
We're your Quotrons here.
Quotrons?
Yeah, computers.
No, we don't even need computers here. We just trade right off the pink sheets here.
Pink sheets?
Yeah, they're penny stocks. You know, companies that can't get listed on NASDAQ, they don't have enough capital, their shares trade here.
Penny stocks? Is this stuff regulated, or are you guys, what are you doing here?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Now remember, when a company is listed, they could be listed in the main board as shown over here, which is a NASDAQ. But if they didn't meet their criteria, sometimes they are being listed somewhere else. And predominantly, they can be listed in the OTC stock exchange. OTC stands for over the counter. And predominantly, there are 3 types, which is seen over here. So in other words, even the OTC market has 3 different tiers. And the lowest tier is actually called pink sheets. Unfortunately, Luckin Coffee is found over here, the pink sheets. So now the question is, what is this over the counter and how does it work? So now the question is, if you are really so interested about Luckin Coffee, right? So how do you buy and sell Luckin stocks over the counter, or rather OTC? First, you have to really call. Really, in the early days, you really have to call the seller. So once they agree to sell the stocks to you, then you have to go through a middleman, which is called a broker. And the broker has to be registered under this FINRA, which is this Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, so that you will not be scammed. Yeah, so it's really a very old school way of buying and selling. So now the question is, if you're an investor, would you invest in Luckin Coffee? Now, if you're still pondering whether to invest or not, don't worry, because in our next subsequent video, we'll talk about more interesting drinks company. One is called Chagi, and the other one is called Mishe. Yeah. Please feel free to comment on this video politely and respectfully, and I shall see you in our next video. Remember, would you invest in Luckin Coffee? See you soon. Goodbye.